Welcome to Home Sweet Loan, the show where we make mortgages, real estate, and home ownership a little easier to understand. I'm Christina DeMarinis, mortgage agent, obviously, and I'm here to have real conversations with industrial professionals, share practical advice, and help buyers and homeowners make more confident decisions. Let's get into it. Today's topic: why your maximum mortgage approval should not always be your budget. One of the most common questions I get from buyers is, how much can I afford? And it's obviously an important question, no doubt about that. But I actually think there's another question buyers should be asking at the same time, which is, how much do I actually want to spend every month? Because those truly are not always the same number. When you go through mortgage pre-approval, we look at your income, your debt, your down payment, your credit, and also the guidelines that the lenders use to determine how you qualify and how much you can qualify for. So at the end of that process, we might determine that you can qualify for a certain purchase price. Great, we love it. But just because a lender is willing to lend you that amount doesn't automatically mean that that's the price you should be shopping at. Your mortgage is only one part of the cost of owning a home. Let's all remember that. You also have things like property taxes, utilities, home insurance, condo fees, if you're buying a condo, obviously, repairs and maintenance, transportation costs. And then, of course, you still want to live a life outside of just owning a home. Maybe you want to travel. Maybe you want to go out for dinner, save for retirement, build an emergency fund, have children, buy a car. Honestly, even just simply not feeling stressed out every time a bill comes into your account. This is why I really like to talk to clients about two numbers. The first number is what you can qualify for. The second is what feels comfortable for your actual lifestyle. Both of these things are super important. So let's get into a bit of an example here. So, for example, maybe based on your income and financial picture, you could actually qualify for a purchase around 800K. We love it. This is such helpful information. But then we look at the estimated mortgage payment, the property taxes, the utilities, and all those other expenses that come along. And then you realize you would actually feel more comfortable shopping around, 700K or 725. This is absolutely, worth noting. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? In fact, I think this is a really smart conversation to have before you start looking for properties. Because once you start seeing homes at the very top of your budget, it can be difficult to then all of a sudden try to fall in love with something that's, 100K cheaper than that. So before you start shopping, I like to help clients create a realistic range. You can look at what the monthly payments could be at a few different purchase prices. That's my favorite to do. I love budgeting. We can talk about your existing spending. We can factor in things that matter to you personally. And then you can go into the home search knowing both your maximum and your comfort zone. This is especially helpful for first time home buyers because there are so many expenses that can feel really new to you at that point. You're not just thinking about your mortgage payments. You may also be paying property taxes for the first time, home insurance for the first time, utilities, maintenance. And you also need to think about the upfront cost of buying. That includes your down payment, your legal fees, the land transfer taxes, moving costs, and potentially things like appraisals or home inspections too. So truly, the goal of a pre-approval should not simply be to get you the biggest number possible. It should be, there to help you build a plan that works for you. I want my clients always to be able to buy a home and still feel comfortable living their lives once they move in. So if you are thinking about buying, do not just ask, what is the maximum I can qualify for? Also really dig in and think about, what would this actually look like every month? That conversation can completely change the way you approach your home search. And if you are a realtor working with a buyer who is not quite sure where they are comfortable price range, bring in your mortgage agent into that conversation early. It can save everyone a lot of time and help the buyer shop with much more confidence in a much more realistic range. So I'm Christina DeMarinis. This is Home Sweet Loan. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.